Yes, guys, welcome back to the Cannon Pod Live. I have a tooth. There it is.
Lovely.
It's absolutely lovely.
It's lovely.
Fantastic. It really, it's top of the range. It's brilliant.
Lovely.
I am still learning how to speak with it a little bit, so you can probably hear me going speak a little bit, but we're learning. We're
learning exactly.
We're learning.
Every day is a learning day.
Every day is a school day, I believe is the phrase.
I think we're both correct here.
No, I'm always right about everything.
And I'm sometimes right, and I think this time I'm right.
I'm sorry to put my foot down, but I think it is every day is a school day.
Prove it.
Chat, you know what to do. Hi, Rohan.
Hiya.
How are you?
Very good.
Yeah?
Very good.
You got a strange energy about you today. What's going on?
No, I always have an energy.
No, you've always got an energy. You seem reserved. What's going on?
Reserved?
No,
I feel very
back.
I'm a bit stiff.
Bit stiff. Can you do
Needs
the
a bit
chair
more
thing again?
fluid.
Maybe that'll
Right.
loosen you up. Oh, it's not working.
Okay, maybe it's
Backstage,
just...
it was. Hello, everyone. Apologies, I'm late. I had something that I was doing, and it ran over. Apologies. So, because of your lateness, sing us a song. I think not. Alexander Isak. There's been some rumors that he's made it. Who's made it? Arteta's made him. I'm still learning to speak. Arteta's made him the top of the list. And we'll get into that. Amit says 50 push-ups for being late. I can't do 50 push-ups, Amit.
Right, apparently my push-ups, the form, I was too wide. Okay, we're going to do it again today.
But you'll...
But then maybe it's getting a bit too cringe then.
It's a little bit cringe flex at that point. Vlad, Forward on Football, he's done it again. Sensational thumbnail. It is if you haven't seen that, we're going to get it on the screen. It's an unbelievable thumbnail. This guy, honestly, this guy's a talent.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's actually mental.
Look at that.
Please tell me you used to watch it.
Yeah, I watched it every day when I got home from school. 4 p.m.
Yeah.
No 11. Well, I normally got back about sort of 4:15, so I saw the end of it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Channel 4.
And then what do you watch at 6 p.m.? What's that 6 p.m. after school?
It would have been The Simpsons if my mum had let me watch it.
Oh, okay.
My mum banned me from watching it.
Was it that bad? To be fair, actually, some of it is pretty bad.
I don't know. I mean, it was allowed to be on at 6 p.m., but my mum she just never let me have it. I don't know why.
What comes at 6:30? Hollyoaks.
Oh.
And then you get into Neighbours, and then you get into all this.
You get
into the nitty-gritty of it.
TV, weren't you? I was out there making moves, making money. Benji Allen shows up what he wants. Chris Graham, you guys moving over to Blue Sky. I feel this is a flash in the pan thing. I could be wrong.
I did create one just literally on my way home from the gym. I just thought I'd just create one. I don't know how much I'll use it, but I'm on it now.
Is anyone on Blue Sky? Like, if people are there, then I'll do it. But it's one of those things. It's like the whole thing of like a party when you're a teenager. Yeah. It's like, so who's going? Wait, if they're going, then I'll go.
That's literally what I did. Well, I'll just have it there. And guess how many followers I have right now? 4. 0.
Yeah. I'll go follow Rohan. Yeah. Go on. What's your Blue Sky?
It's the same as Twitter.
Name for today, Alex. Marcia Lewis's best mate. Yeah, if you haven't checked it out, yesterday we did an interview with Marcia Lewis, who is her own person, but also Miles Lewis Skelly's mum is probably where people know her from. She was great. She was amazing. It was all about her initiative, which is called Number One Fan Club, which is basically supporting parents with their kids in like academy football. And I assumed that the club take care of it and look after the parents and kind of, teach them about the business side of things. Not at all. They look after the kids. So the parents have to kind of educate themselves and kind of work it out themselves. And it must be a really scary thing. I mean, she shared this on the show, so you can go listen to it. But some of the stuff that was happening, people were like DMing Miles when he was like 14, 15. and like not knowing what's happening with your son, and people are like approaching him before you're allowed to. I think it's 16 when you're allowed to sign with an agent and stuff. So it's all a very kind of murky world. So she's doing a great job. It's a great interview, and she's a lovely, genuinely lovely person. You know, sometimes when you go on an interview and you're like, yeah, they were great, they're really nice, and you're like, they were fine. She was really nice, like a genuinely nice woman.
You smashed it, mate. You smashed it. Absolutely smashed it. See that? Gains season.
AFC Smithers. Feels like ages since you two have been on a stream together. Has it? Oh. Last week. Ivan Smith. Hello, sir. Do you like my picture, Alex? Is that meant to be my hair? So here's the thing. Is
that my face?
Here's the thing that happens.
That's what he's done.
People will tag me in pictures of people who look like me now. And it's always like the most ugly person I've ever seen with curly hair. I'm like, am I the only person you know with curly hair? Is that really what it is?
You are a monumental cutie.
Rohan, you're so kind. You're so kind. I think you're the cutie. You're the cutie. That's what it is. Thank you everyone in the chat. Appreciate it.
Right. Did you hear it there? Did you hear it there?
Hear what?
Chair.
Oh.
I think I've got the angle now.
We want to talk next few weeks fixtures. We want to do
Chelsea?
We can talk Chelsea a bit if you want. I frankly don't want to, but you can if you want. It's your podcast. Then we're going to do contracts. We're going to do extend or release, which is the only two options. You couldn't possibly do like a +1. Actually, that kind of is the only two options there, isn't it? Extend or release. Or sell, I guess.
Extend, release. No, just keep them on their current deal.
Or keep them on the current deal. It wouldn't have been. It wasn't as catchy a title. So, I want to talk Ben White's injury. I want to talk David Coote and the PGMOL. I want to talk sporting directors, potentially Harry Kane. I'm currently sounding like Harry Kane with my voice. And there's also a graph that I want to come to if we have time. But there you go. A graph. Yeah. You had a tough day. Everything all right?
No, I just wanted to I'm just trying to get, just trying to keep you on your toes, isn't it?
Keep me on my toes. You need to. It's important. Okay. Well, do you want to do Chelsea then?
I thought it would be. It's our last game, wasn't it?
I don't want to, but you can go on. What did you think?
Watch it in the end? Because I know you.
Yeah, I watched it back now. Yeah.
You don't want to say anything about Chelsea?
Like I want to look forward. The second half was much better. The second half was much better.
No, the only thing I don't want to go into the finer details, but I do think that our last two performances have been quite encouraging, and I think sometimes people don't necessarily want to hear any of the positivity, especially when the results aren't good and we're going through like prolonged adversity. But I think the reason why I wanted to talk about it is if we go back to last season and when we had that cluster of defeats and the draw of Liverpool, West Ham and Fulham, the Fulham game was awful. But when you look at those two other games there were a lot of encouraging signs before we then went on our run. And I think this is what I want to talk about, because if you go back and look at those games, like the West Ham game in particular, that was very much, if Arsenal played that game, that exact same game 10 times, we win it at least 9 times. That's how dominant it was. That's how the amount of situations that we generated, the chances created, etc. It was really positive. And Liverpool away to Anfield as well, there were a lot of encouraging signs there. And I think it's important to look at small nuggets of info that we're getting from these performances that could give us belief that we're going to go on a run. And I do believe, when we saw it against Chelsea, and we spoke a lot about it on the podcast about solutions, internal solutions to mitigate the Odegaard injury. And I'm a firm believer that Arteta could have done other things that would have allowed us to have achieved better outcomes so far in the season. But ultimately, when you lose a player of that quality, you're never going to be able to completely mitigate it. And we saw that in the Chelsea game, particularly in the second half, when Odegaard was really finding his feet in the game and he was dropping deep, he was facilitating. It was allowing Ben White to get high. It was allowing Saka to come inside. And I've always felt like with that right-hand side combination, obviously Ben White now injured for a lengthy amount of time, but that combination of Odegaard dropping, then Ben White ghosting on the outside, Saka coming inside, that for me has been our best right-hand side dynamic under Mikel Arteta, most fluid and most potent. And I think that is something that we can take as an encouraging sign, particularly with Odegaard. And I think with Odegaard, it's not just what he does on the ball. But if you look at, and also not just the press, but if you look at Ødegaard and how he can kind of dismantle a team and how he move them around, it comes from Ødegaard and his ability to instruct other players and the way that he's effectively orchestrating the entire tempo of the
with
game.
him with his gravity.
Exactly, yeah, and the way that we were able to kind of change through different shapes and Thomas Partey dropping a lot in the back line in that game, Declan Rice as well, and just giving us a real level of fluidity that we've not necessarily seen in his absence. That is the impact that he gives us. So I think that's a really encouraging sign to take forward. I also think with Mikel Merino, that cameo was ridiculous, especially in that sort of game state as well. Like the big chance at the end, and I do believe it was onside. We'll never know ultimately, but that comes from at the start. You look at Merino again; he's under pressure. He's baiting to go and switch to the other side, but then he just holds it, he retains it, he shields it, and then he releases Timber, I think it is. Then we generate a really good situation. That's another encouraging sign of what Merino can offer us. So there are things that I'm seeing that I think should give us confidence, and also the fixtures that we've had. We spoke a lot about the problems and things that we could do better, but I do think the fixtures is big context. You look at the games that we've played so far away from home: Newcastle, Aston Villa, Man City, Spurs, Chelsea. Then in Europe, we went to Atalanta and Inter, two of the top teams in the Italian league as well. It's not been easy, and I think there's definitely. I think we should be optimistic personally, because I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal go on a run, genuinely, from the small bits of information I'm getting from these games.
This is Arsenal's next 15 games. So, and also the location. So this was from Christopher Block, I think, who tweeted it to me. So thank you so much, or X'd it to me, or Sky'd it to me, whatever it is. Nottingham at home in London. Sporting away, then in London, West Ham, all these games. West Ham away, United at home, Fulham away, Monaco at home, Everton at home, Palace at home, Palace away, I think in the Carabao Cup. Ipswich at home, Brentford away in London, Brighton away, still only in Brighton, which isn't too far. Tottenham at home, Aston Villa at home in London, and Zagreb at home in London. So, yeah, I feel really positive, and I think what you're saying about the sort of the positive signs, you're right. Some people don't want to hear that; they don't want to hear. But we're positive signs. Ultimately, the result is all that matters, and there comes a point where the results are. I think some people have gone beyond that point of like caring about the performances for some people, and that's fair. But I still think there's stuff, and that's I would suggest those people are probably already Arteta skeptics. But to me, there's still stuff to look for in the performances and still so much to gain out of this season. And as you say, when you look at the performances, I do feel positive. And then when you look at this, look, how different will we feel if, let's say, by Monaco at home, we've won every single one of those games. We've beat Nottingham. We've gone away to Sporting and beat them in the Champions League. We've gone away to West Ham. We beat United at home under Amorim if we manage to do that. We beat Fulham away. And then we get a nice Champions League win. And we've got Everton at the weekend. The vibes will be so different around the club. And that's why I think it's so important. Just quickly, sorry, Alejandro, 10 Cannon Podcast memberships. Go get them right now, people. If you want to access all this sort of ad-free stuff on the side, Alejandro, that is very, very kind. Thank you, sir.
Very kind.
So if you want to go and be a Cannon Pod member, make sure you do that. And you can check out all the ad-free stuff, even going backwards as well. You can go check out like the rewatches and the scout and stuff from the summer as well. So that's very, very nice. Thank you, Alejandro. But yeah, I think like the mood music will be so different. And then people want to talk about performances. Then people want to talk about the encouragement. And this is the thing with, it's such kind of, it's the thing about football that people can keep coming back to. You can ignore everything else and you can say, well, but what about the result? And it's there. We haven't got the results. But I feel the same, that I'm still focusing on the performances and there's so much to be gained there. So I'm optimistic, especially when I look at that run.
I also think, and when the fixtures come out, you always look at like 3 clusters, especially for me, where you look at the beginning, the middle being for me the Christmas period, because I think that is very, very key in terms of you going into the new year on a high or a low, and then the business end of the season. And I think our Christmas period is one of the best I've ever seen it be, because of where the games are. You can look at Manchester United and say that's a difficult game for sure, but you look at, and this is a really good way of looking at it, we don't have to travel far. And I think sometimes people underestimate the impact of that. When
especially
you're
3 days or so.
like imagine we're playing Newcastle away. You're going all the way up north, and then your next game is like Brighton away. Within 3 days, it makes a difference. And I do think this is gonna. There's a lot of things to be encouraged by. I do think that the annoyance that people have, and I completely get it, is that we've had another season in which a cluster has hurt us. It's another season in which the cluster of results, where it's not just one isolated result, it's a prolonged set of results in which we're not able to get wins. And we've looked back at previous campaigns in which that has hurt us. But where I kind of push back a little bit on that this season, and we'll never know, ultimately, we could go on a really long run from now to the end of the season, let's say, and we miss out by a couple of points. And if you ask me, where did we lose the title? I'd say it's in this cluster, just like last season. And, we and people can say, I told you so, etc. And I can completely hear that. But where I don't think it's like last season is the fact that there are so many variables that we don't know about in terms of Liverpool. And there is no chance in which they're going to go the entire season without any form of adversity.
No.
And that's very key. And I think also with Manchester City, the Rodri factor is massive.
And by the way, sorry to stop you, but that is a key point on Liverpool.
Yeah.
Some people seem to go, well, Liverpool are gone. I would say you could bet, even because of the start of the season they've had, in just the shape of a season, you will have some adversity and teams will work you out a little bit. You can bet on them having a poor run of form. Like, I would say it's more now than you could at any other point in the season. At some point it is coming. Or, maybe, 3 percentile outcome, they go the whole season this way, in which case, fair enough, and they would have been the best team in the league. But I would say in a normal season, in a season which we expect, I think we're gonna have that from Liverpool. And I also want to show this. So this is from Scott Willis. Let me just find it 1 second. So this is team performance compared to schedule difficulty. And again, I know people don't like this stuff. I do get it. When people go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because of the results. You can take that if you want. But the way I put it is this way. I think I wrote this in the article I sent you yesterday. If Trossard aims that shot, I watched that again yesterday, the Aston Villa moment. If Trossard aims that shot slightly to the left, we are talking about he's done it. He's beaten the greatest manager of all time, all that sort of stuff. So I get it. But the results, the thing is, I'm kind of preaching to the crowd here, so I'm talking to somebody who probably isn't listening to this sort of podcast. But the results, are they're very hard to analyze. I feel really hard. I struggle going, well, results. That's it. I really struggle with it. It's not analysis I like doing. So I prefer doing this. If you are a results guy, fair enough. But I find it really hard to analyze if Trossard puts his boot a different way. Yeah, if you want to do that analysis, then fair enough. I can't do it. I really struggle to do it. So this is the stuff that gives me a bit more sort of something to grip onto, really. And I look at this. So this is team performance compared to schedule difficulty. The strength of schedule rating is done by Scott, and you can go check it out if you want. Also have the third hardest schedule in the league, and and Liverpool and City are down in the bottom 6. I think that is in the bottom 6.
Yep.
And then if you look at hard schedule, good results, we're still actually picking up some of the most points per match in the league. We're still here. That's a really good position. And then when you change that to 11v11 and change it to XG, which is on the second one. Hang on, let me find it.
It's again, I think we're right next to Liverpool, aren't we?
No, that's points per match again. Sorry.
I think it was Mark Stats, I think.
No, this was still Scott. Hang on. I'm just literally, I can't use my computer. Share screen, window, Scott second. That's the one. Here we go. So this is weighted XG difference, 11v11. We look even better, even with the hard schedule. So out of the teams with the harder schedule, so this side of that line, we are the best performing team. Again, some people won't like that. They'll look to the results. It doesn't matter. Fine. But you can hold on to this. You can actually analyze this. This is something you can analyze over what if Rice steps out and closes down Pedro Neto. And I just find that really hard to look at.
But this is where I think, when you go on a run of games in which you're picking up win after win after win, like we did throughout the entirety of the 2024 last season, barring Aston Villa and City, which we drew. people sometimes will think, oh, it's just a flick of the switch, but it's not a flick of the switch. Sometimes when you look into the finer details, like things like this, you can then understand as to why Arsenal are able to go on that front. And this is where I look at it and think, there are encouraging signs there, and there is evidence there to suggest that Arsenal are going to go on a run. And I think I personally find it very difficult to use the games that we played this season so far as an indicator of what Arsenal can do in the next 10 games, because there's so many different situations that we found ourselves in. Like, we'll probably get into that graph later today about the amount of space players have in different zones, and again, when you look at it, it's like heavily influenced by the red cards that we've had this season, so these are things that I think I don't believe you can look at these games, even though it's a decent cluster of games of 11 Premier League outings, as a way of saying Arsenal are not going to go on run. I think for me, you need to look at the small nuggets of information that you're getting in these last couple of games. And also, you need to look at the fact that this is an Arsenal team under Arteta that have gone on 2 massive runs in his tenure. 22-23, first 19 games, accumulated 50 points. And then last season, obviously, operating at a 100-point pace, in 2024. There's evidence there, and I think, again, you don't have to go with that logic. You can go with the logic of this season so far, what you've seen, and not even take into account the red cards and fixture difficulty, etc. And that's fine. But I just find it very difficult to go with that logic, especially when you look at the games that we've got. And I'm telling you now, Alex, if by the Monaco game, if we've won all of our games, I'd be shocked if it's not 5 points off Liverpool. I'd be shocked.
It could be closer. It could
be even closer.
Which is by January, late December. Like, do you know what I mean? So and this is the thing, and also, it's not been good enough. No one's saying it is, but when you've played 11 games, these things matter a lot more. Schedule difficulty and 11v11, and across a season, those things start. You just go, well, whatever. But but in a small sort of part of a campaign, you have to look at it. Yeah, and
I always think. Sorry to
covered
put you there.
No, go on.
No, I always think the first night when you look at things, I think it's good to look at data now. I think we've got enough of a sample size, but I think the best place with data and comparing to other teams is after you've played your first 19 games, because then everyone's played each other once. Everyone's played each other at least once. Some might be away, some might be home, but that's a better indicator. And I'd be shocked. Honestly, I'd be shocked if we're more than 5 points off top come Christmas.
I would as well, and that puts us in a great position. I actually. Do I want to say this? I kind of think I feel, this is just pure anecdotal, I feel we're better chasing than holding a lead. I don't know whether that's like the fan experience where you're kind of going, oh God, you're looking over your shoulder. I feel we perform better. I'm sure someone could run the numbers on it. When Arsenal are second, do they get more points per game than when they're first? I'd be really curious. I bet it's more when we're second. I bet it is.
Well, I mean, last season we've got the best indicator, right? Throughout the entirety of 2020, we're chasing, and we win every single game, barring 2. In the 22-23 season, again, obviously there's context to it, but we were leading and we dropped off. But there's obviously a lot of factors there. But it's an example of the differences as a chaser versus as a leader. I feel like we'll become a better leader once we win it.
Probably. Because you've got that line. I'm just like. I'm always cautious in these sorts of podcasts of kind of getting into the data and it will come and be one of those guys and thinking about what I would say to someone who would say to me fairly, but the results haven't been good enough. Like what would I say? And I don't know. All you can say is have some patience, and it's hard. And it kind of comes back to a point I made a couple of weeks ago about because we've done this a few times now. The lines of just be a bit patient, wait and see, they start to wear off a little bit. And I do get that. I do get some people's frustration.
I do get it, man. I do get it.
There's obviously criticism that goes just doesn't think, but there's also criticism that is fair. And you have to hold on to it. And obviously there's aspects of the football that we talked about in terms of the central access, in terms of the usage of the squad, in terms of sort of creating chances, in terms of Havertz and Trossard and Ødegaard and all that stuff. But there's also just I get it. There will be someone watching this who's just going, I just don't care. I just want us to win. And I do get that.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Honestly. And you get that. You get that at the office. There's no point in me And sometimes like there's no point in me trying to explain my reasons behind why Arsenal are where they are, because ultimately they'll go, oh, it's excuses. It's
exactly. And this is
so what do you do?
Jonathan comment, data and stats are fair, but 9 points behind this early is tough to say. And that's kind of my feeling.
It is.
I think all of this stuff that we're saying is true.
Mm-hmm.
But I said this on the main podcast on Monday, like you have facts and feelings. And at the moment, my facts are like, we're absolutely still in this race. You can't count anyone out of game week 11. But my feeling is like, oh, God.
Yeah, nine points. I don't think, we shouldn't hide away from it. 9 points is a massive, massive deficit.
It's big,
big. When it gets to 10 points, then you start to really get a bit more worried about it. I still wouldn't, I just find it very difficult to rule Arsenal at the title race, given where we are, in the season. And especially,
you can't rule anyone out.
And also the unknown variables that we have in front of us. If this was 9 points behind Manchester City from last season, which they've got their players there, Rodri, etc., I'd think, we're going to struggle here. But this is different. It is different. Yeah. And I don't know if you watched the Liverpool Aston Villa game. Very basketball-y, and it's one of those times. It's end to end, and it's like you throw a punch, we throw a punch, and that gives me confidence. That gives me confidence that this team. It's not going to go through a prolonged patch from now till, like I said, I'll be very shocked if they don't drop points in at least 2 games from now till the new year in the league.
Also, I think we said this before about Liverpool in terms of what wins a league, and the sample we have in the last 6-7 years with Pep Guardiola in the league is control over chaos. That's what we've had to win leagues. Yeah. Now we control games in a different way. We use the wide areas. Pep goes through the middle. We look at more dueling, and he looks at more keeping the ball, etc. But the control of games is more important. And Liverpool, I still don't feel have found that with Slot. They've become a slightly different team. I think they are, they're better in certain aspects. But I don't know. I still, I watched them against Aston Villa. I watched them against Ipswich. I know they changed in the first half. The game, there was another game, even the Forest game. There have been times where they've just lost control of this game. But you never know. I mean, look, we're looking for that a little bit, aren't we? We just have to wait and see.
Do you know what it is with Liverpool? Liverpool have all timers in their team. All timers. Virgil van Dijk, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Mohamed Salah, and Alisson's out injured. I actually don't think, maybe this is a little bit controversial, I actually don't think Alisson is as big of a loss given who Kelleher is and him being one of the top second choice keepers. And I also think his composure on the ball is better than Alisson's personally in deep build-up, and that's something that Slot values massively. But you look at these guys, they're all timers, and I think a lot of this Liverpool, the way that I've seen Liverpool play so far this season, Slot deserves a lot of credit because I can immediately see his blueprint of this team. But if you look at a lot of the goals that they've scored, it is still Jurgen Klopp muscle memory. It is that sort of, because they've had that manager for so long, it's going to be very difficult for you to remove that from your DNA. And why would he want to remove that from DNA? Because that's what has given Liverpool so much success under Klopp. And that's where they are very dangerous. When the game does become open, that's where Liverpool are at their best. But over a season, will they be able to do that every single game? We shall see. They've got really hard games in December as well. They've got to go to Newcastle. They play Man City not this week, the week after. No, sorry, in 2 weeks or whatever it is. Now I do think though, Alex, we're at a stage now in which we need to win games.
We need to
reduce
that margin. Yeah. We need to win games.
We need to win games, and that game week. Let's forget about a prolonged patch so far. We've got Forest after the international break. We've got to win that, and then the following game week we've got to beat West Ham, because then in that game week Liverpool play Man City. For me, any result is a good result. Any result. It's one of those games in which, one of your competitors is going to drop points. We need to go into that. It'll probably be a 4:30 kickoff. It's the Showtime game. We need to go into that game. Well, watch that game with us 6 points on the board. Take it baby steps, and then we can go from there, and that's the way we should do it.
Should we reply to all the comments about our appearance while we've been trying to do some proper football analysis? Yes. Hairline reveal, Rohan.
It's not that bad.
Bro, Alex, put those guns away. You're scaring the hose.
Go on, Alex. Flex again.
And pulls out the sleeveless SMH. Hair's looking great, Alex. The curls are really popping.
It is.
Any more comments on our appearance? The coin has no memory. What? What does that mean?
This is some sort of
allegorical.
Is it an innuendo?
Wayne has no memory.
Is it an innuendo?
I don't think so. Space Time says, serious question. I've heard someone say it's embarrassing if Arne Slot wins the league over Arteta. Do you agree? Well, I think it's what Rohan said. They've got 4 all-time you could argue I'm not saying they are, but there's an argument for Alisson, Trent, Salah, and Van Dijk all being the Prem all-time 11.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they are. I'm saying there's an argument for it.
There's an argument, yeah.
So,
especially if they win it. If they win it, that'll be 2 league titles?
2 league titles, and Salah's definitely in at that point. Virgil's definitely in at that point. I think it depends on what Trent does. Yeah. Like,
would you say it's a failure, Alex?
Well, every time you don't win, this is the thing. Every time you don't win the league, when you should, as in we're good enough, yes, it's a failure. But the point is okay, Arteta's failed. Now what?
Yeah. But that's a different question, isn't it? That's a different question. That's a different question. But I'm saying, like, in isolation, right? I would say if Liverpool won the league, it would be a failure from us for this season. Now, bringing Arteta into this conversation, I don't think is something to do. That's a separate topic. And I'm a firm believer that as long as Arsenal continue to progress forward and we're continuing to stimulate growth, I'm always happy. I'm going to be happy with him because trophies will come. But if we look at this season in isolation, I always think sometimes it's very simple analysis, but I think it's fair. Before the start of the season, I didn't have Liverpool winning the league, not close. I don't. Maybe you didn't as well have Liverpool.
I think I'm third. I think.
So I think it would be. I think it wouldn't be a good look on Arteta's Arsenal if Arne Slot came in, in his first season and Liverpool won it. I don't think it'd be a good look. But I'm not getting in the debate of therefore Arteta should be sacked. He shouldn't. There's loads of context behind it. But in isolation, it would be a failure. It would
be. But I think there's also a season where Slot wins it and we still progress. Where, for example, we win a domestic cup and maybe get to the final of the other, and maybe get to a semi-final or a final of the Champions League and come second. At that point, you say, okay, well, we've competed unbelievably across 4 competitions. If we improved on our points tally, which I don't think we will, to be honest, I don't think anyone will, because of the league. But say we did, that would be the first time as a club and a manager, I think, has ever improved 5 times in a row. So from 1920 to 2021 and so on and so forth, has improved their points total 5 years in a row. If we do that, unbelievable. It's still progress. So but this is the thing is, ultimately people will say, well, where's the trophy? And I do get that. And I think this is the one thing that's changed in this run for me is I used to be about those guys like, come on, be patient. And now I'm like, I get that a bit more. I do. I'm like, I do get that. I'm not there, but I do get it.
Yeah.
And this is what we've always said, bro. Like, we're young fans. I'm 27. You're 39.
27, same age.
Yeah. So, but like I've always said, I'm sure some of my patience for this Arteta project comes from the fact that I've not sat here for 40 years, waiting for a trophy. Do you know what I mean? So, I was 7 when Wenger was winning with the Invincibles. So
for me, Alex, I've always been, I don't know about you, but I've always been someone who's an advocate of giving a manager time. Always have. I'm not someone who likes to chop and change immediately. But maybe I'll change in 10 years' time, but I've got so much time for Arteta.
Do you reckon we'll be sat here in 15 years going, get the manager out, get him out, these kids, what do they know?
Do you think culture will change by then in terms of in this country and how managers are viewed? And, because what you do see a lot these days on social media, just in general, you have a bad patch of form, get the manager out. That's a big narrative that does come, and people aren't willing to be patient sometimes. Sometimes you do need to get rid of the manager. Sometimes it is a thing you need to do, but I don't know. Maybe the culture might change in 10 years. How?
I always say this, and I've bored people with it, but I'm always cautious of using social media as a barometer because you see the most salacious takes. So I never know. What I will say is I do think culturally, as a whole, we're becoming less patient because you can get things quicker. If naturally everything is just taking less time. And it's the whole thing of like the kind of the lie of progress is
Yeah.
the dishwasher is invented. Oh, you got so much more time to do other things. Well, who feels they have enough time in their life at the minute? You just end up doing more things. And I think with phones and with internet access and whatever, everything's so much quicker. Like the news cycle is so much quicker. The way we live our lives is so much quicker. Communication is so much quicker. So naturally, it follows that our values and the way we judge things is going to be quicker. That said, that doesn't make it wrong to change the manager. Sometimes, you know what I mean. So it's hard to know the balance. I will always come back to it, and this is why I find that we should have won analysis quite hard to do. I come back to it. We were a foot from winning this title, from doing the thing that you said. So if you want to get off, that's fine, but you were a foot away. So you can blow it all up. It's your choice. Blow it all up if you want. But I would rather go with the guy who got us a foot away. Do you know what I mean? Just personally, that makes more sense to me. And the guy who's improved us every year for 5, I'll probably go with him. But you can do what you want. But I'll go. You can do
it, yeah, exactly, yeah. But it's crazy because who do you think's been the best finisher in the Premier League over the past 8 to 10 years?
Salah, maybe. Were you hoping I'd say Trossard?
No, I was hoping you're going to say Son. Son.
Okay. Yeah, in terms of overperforming XG, yeah.
Overperforming XG, so when someone does it over a season, you can attribute it to maybe luck, but when someone does it season out, that's not luck, that's just excellent finishing. He was through 1-on-1 against Man City.
Oh yeah, that was another one. That was another whole one.
1-on-1. One of the best finishes the league has seen over the past decade. At least one of the best finishes. And he squanders it. He scores that. Honestly.
So an aggregate of Son being 1-on-1 and Trossard being, if you want to get off that boat at that point, can you imagine how annoyed they must be as well?
Do you know what? No, it's not just you could go to many moments in the season. You could also go back. Do you remember it when we played Spurs at home? We're 1-0 up, and then Gabriel Jesus blasts it over the bar when Maddison gets pressed by Jesus.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That's I'd argue that was an easy chance, mate. That was an easy chance. Either side of
if Rice doesn't do his hamstring, we're sat here. Look, and again, I want to move off the topic now, but I get there's going to be people who are like, so what? Just get over the line, and I get it, but yeah.
I'd find it very difficult to get into the conversation of sacking a manager when the margins are as fine as that. I find that very difficult to agree with that logic. I find it very difficult. So, yeah.
Rohan. Oh, my God.
Yes, sir.
If Arteta leaves tomorrow, who would you take? Rohan?
I need to do some research, but I do like Thiago Motta.
Carlos Cuesta. I
don't know.
Looking at this team, I think you want someone who quite likes the physical side of the game. It's a very big team. Sean Dyche. No, but someone like actually, there's a good shout in the chat. Someone like an Inzaghi. That Inter Milan team were pretty mega, I'd say, in terms of physically.
He's top 5 in the world easily. Inzaghi's
amazing.
He's a ridiculous coach. Watch the Inter game back. Well, just watch into this. The way that the solutions that they have in game to what teams are doing. Some of the things that he does, it's crazy. The rotations, etc. But yeah, I don't know, because this has never came across my mind, which is quite wild, because when we got towards the latter stages of Wenger and under Emery as well, I'm always thinking, who can we get? I don't think about these things now because I'm very set on who I have.
And another way of, I think, assessing whether Arteta's the right guy is where would he go if he left Arsenal? And I'm telling you, Madrid, Barca, Atletico would all have him. I think basically every team in England would have him. I think City would have him. City would definitely have him. If Arteta left Arsenal, he would go to City. I'm telling you.
What would you do if Arteta left Arsenal for City next season?
Cry. My entire personality. in the mud. Right. Let's do this. So we wanted to come to. I was thinking about this week because the news came out about Trossard. About
Your
the
bestie.
potential my best friend, Leandro Trossard, which, by the way, I support a contract extension. I'll come to that in a second. Potentially signing a new deal. I think Pete, someone at Sky Sports, I saw said that. But I thought about contracts, and there's a few kind of contract deadlines coming up. So I thought it could be fun on TCP Live to go through and do one of our kind of rankings, one of our games we do. Have a bit of fun in the chat as well. And basically the options are extend, and if so, by how far, if we can. Keep on the same deal and wait, or let the contract run down, or whatever. There isn't really a catchy one on these. We're going to go through each player and sort of decide what to do with the contract.
Have you got your pages out? Pages? You got pages on, or we're just doing it straight from Transfer Market?
I've got pages in.
Pages. You know.
Oh, you're a Mac. No, we're going straight on Transfer Market.
Oh yeah.
I did a tier list last week, and that's taken up all my prep. Raheem Sterling, let the loan go, and he can go back to Chelsea.
Oh God. Right. What other evidence do we have? Who can?
Right now, we have to say right now. We have to say right now.
Right now.
Sterling, let us know in the chat. Yeah. Would you try and sign on a permanent? I don't see that at all. The only argument you could make is next summer. George and I had a conversation about this on a podcast recently, and while I don't agree, so George was saying there's an inordinate amount of stuff to do next summer. There's loads of stuff, more than normal. I don't really agree personally, and he can put his case across. But what I will say is, in the forward areas, there's quite a lot that could potentially be moving around. We could keep absolutely as we are, sign Sterling on a permanent, and carry on. So you could do one thing, but possibly there is not even one thing. No, literally no incomes and no outcomes. Reece Nelson comes back in, whatever. My point being that there's potentially a lot to do in next summer. Jesus could go.
Yep.
Nelson could go.
Yep.
Trossard, we're talking about the contract, but could go. Sterling could go back to Chelsea, and you could be left with, on a decent enough contract, and with 2 years to go with a couple of these guys, Saka, Martinelli, and Havertz. So the only argument I make for Sterling is if you've got a lot going on in a summer and he wants to take another year's loan deal, that's the only way I look at it. But for me, that's a very low percentile outcome, and I'm not having that.
We can't. We just there's nothing. There's very little evidence for us to sit here and say, Raheem Sterling should be part of Arsenal's plans next season. We've barely seen him. We've barely seen him, and so far, as of today, and I was very, very happy at the end. Well, I was happy given the fact that we had very little time left in the window. And we found a player in which financially it made sense for us. But as of today, it's been a disaster. As of today, it's...
I was about to say, well, how do you quantify a disaster? And then I started thinking about it, and I was like, maybe you're right. How do you quantify a disaster like that? Okay, yeah.
We're gonna be in the middle of November, and he's had one start in the Premier League. That was against Southampton.
Put it this way, I can't see how we wouldn't have been in a better position keeping Nelson around.
Yeah.
And he's on the bench at Fulham.
He has started the last two games, but I've got my thoughts on Reece Nelson. I don't believe, and people may disagree, I don't believe that we used him at all. I think for me, Reece Nelson was a player, when you're talking about efficiency of minutes to cameos, he was extremely efficient. When he was given opportunities, he took them. He did take them. People can look at his final third inefficiencies, etc., and that's fine.
He looks good.
But the performances, he's been good. And this is why I can't believe Arteta, because he kept talking about Reece Nelson, about how much he rates him, etc. But since July 2020, Reece Nelson has started 2 Premier League games for Arsenal under Arteta. That was the Liverpool one in lockdown, and against Luton this year. He's surely all right. If someone might not rate Reece Nelson, that's completely fine. But surely, from 2020 to 2024, he has done enough to warrant more than 2 Premier League starts. Surely.
Jorginho contract expires next summer, so June 2025.
Yeah, I'd let him go. I would. I think this is why the Marino signing was very important. Would you let the contract go,
or would you sell? As in, would you let him go next summer?
I'd let him go this summer. Yeah, I'd let him go. I think we purchased him for 10 million. I think he's been more than value for money, given what he offered us last season in particular. And I do think this is where the Marino signing was very important, because we needed to add more experience into this midfield, and then he will become that kind of experienced head. He already is, but he becomes that kind of like Jorginho type next season as well. I think his usage will be more for sure next season. I think Jorginho's been used sparingly so far. But yeah, I think I'm looking at Jorginho as one, definitely to move on. But I think he's been a top signing, honestly.
Put him in the U18s, essentially.
Do you know what? I actually thinking about it, I wouldn't be against Jorginho having some form of a role at the club.
Yeah.
Because of, and all the players, I think when they do there's like cheeky segments of like, who do you think is going to be most likely to be a manager? And it's always him, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and if people have got a good, if it looks like he's got a good brain on him, then why not?
Yeah, definitely.
Neto, is this one of the most pointless signings of all time? It's arguable.
The thing is, he's not good as well, Alex. He's not good as well.
Thomas Partey also expiring in June 2025.
Yeah, I'd let him go.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously another conversation to be had. But that's next. Oh no, hang on. Ignore me. I asked you this summer or next summer for Jorginho. I'm an idiot. It's next summer. That is 2025 is next summer. I'd let him go. Personally, with Partey, I'd let him go, and people can read into that what they like. Trossard.
Gets interesting now.
It does. He expires in 2026. I would give him another year. I'd give him a +1 to 2027. So from this summer, he'd have 2 years left. He's 29, and he'd be technically leaving at 31. The reason I'd say that is I don't know if you're going to get a better 6th attacker than Trossard. But the problem is, at the moment, we're seeing him as our 4th attacker. If we go and get an Isak, or we go and get a Nico Williams or something, and Trossard's still at the club, as a behind Saka, I'm probably well, let's keep Jesus at the club for now. Saka, Martinelli, Havertz, Jesus plus Isak. If you have Trossard as your 6th, who can play across the front line, experience, I think that's pretty good. And at a peak age, and we need players at that sort of age. So I probably would give him a contract extension, but not currently in the usage he's in. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No. I think I've always felt with Trossard, there's different ways to use Trossard. He's never a starter for me. I've never had him as that sort of play. He is very much that kind of impact type. Sylvain Wiltord-esque, not the same type of player stylistically, but that sort of guy who's going to come on, and we need efficiency. And I know obviously it's kind of, people say, well, look at what's been happening recently. But when you look at efficiency, Trossard is one of our most efficient players. I don't think people can deny that, despite the fact that he's got a lot of blood on his hands this season, to be fair. But I also think by extending him for an extra year, you do have the opportunity to sell potentially this summer and still be able to maximize his sale to some degree. I don't think you'll be able to get the money that I think Saudi offered. A week after the window. Yeah. I don't think you'll get that sort of money, but I still think we'll be able to.
With Saudi, though, you never know. I'm not saying the same.
Yeah, you never know. But... Exactly. Yeah, exactly. But I think for me, I like the idea. I think what Edu mentioned about when a player has 2 years left on the deal, you have to make the decision of keep or sell. And I think with Trossard having another year, then his contract would run out until 2027. So then come this summer, that would be 2 years. So we have a good way of playing that. Yeah, we have a good way of playing that. Yeah. So I'd
maybe give him Yeah, or you put like an option for like a club option for another year or something. I don't know how exactly you do it, but yeah, I'd probably do that. Zinchenko is expiring in 2026. For me, this is sell this summer.
Yeah, agree.
I think you only tank the value by waiting much longer. He's clearly not stylistically what you want. I find the way we're using him at the minute as almost like an overlapping option quite interesting. Like the way he has been used as a kind of come on late in games and overlap. And I look at like a Kieran Tierney. I'm like, well, if we want someone to come on in games and be a bomb on the overlap, still got Kieran Tierney. Like, still use it. We've still got 2 years on year and a half on Tierney's contract. So I'd prefer to do that. For me,
that's an interesting conversation, isn't it? Because we look at Kieran Tierney, and we look at that sort of overlapping profile, and Kieran Tierney on his day, he is one of the best in that regard. But we've not seen Kieran Tierney for God knows how long, and also, the injury and his response. There's just so much. There's so much uncertainty with Tierney, isn't it? Is he the same player, etc.? Yep. But yeah, I do find it interesting how Zinchenko has been used. And I would sell as well, because I think we are. I'd like to freshen up our entire backline again this summer with certain players, and I also think with Calafiori, I think we can have a little bit of a redundancy of a Zinchenko in the squad. So yeah, I definitely would move on.
Yeah.
So.
Just going to come to this comment. By the way, were you doing this will prove George's opinion right, as in we have a lot of work to do next summer, which is his point. My point, which is I think is a different one, is you can look at every summer and give yourself a massive to-do list as a fan.
Yeah.
But the club do this? New contract. Sell, sign a new response, release, sign a new player, release, get a new player, release, get a new player, sell, get a new player, get a new contract. In the set, like with every player, you can do something. They're not going to do that in the same summer. We as fans can say, here's what we do as the kind of next decision. But I think at any point, and for me, if you look at Arsenal as a squad, which is really the thing I'm doing, most of the building blocks are in place. Compared to most clubs, the volume of work we need to do, we have Saliba on a long-term contract. We have Gabriel on a long-term contract. We have Declan Rice on a long-term contract. Like the building, David Raya, like the building blocks of the team are there. There's always going to be things to do, but the thing I was pushing back on was the idea that next summer is a particularly big summer. There's always stuff you need to do, and I think we mostly have the building blocks in there. Let's come to Kieran Tierney. I mean, sell or go at some point. But I do think there's a conversation about him as an overlapping profile. I really do.
100%. 100%. Because I think when you're talking about maximising someone like Martinelli, I've always maintained that the issue that we sometimes have, and whatever your opinions of Martinelli are, I think one of the flaws at times is people looking at our wingers and expecting both players to be able to do the same things when they're not able to do the same things. And I do think Martinelli is someone you get him in more box situations, you're going to see a player who looks better. And I actually think personally, he's had an underrated season. Underrated in the sense of relative to, and again, social media, you don't know how big these opinions are, but some of the stuff I see about Martinelli, I do think that he's gone a little bit under the radar with some of his performances. I think what he has had is some big moments that have been quite poor, like the Bournemouth chance. And you're talking about these fine margins, especially with a red card. People look at that, but I think he's doing quite well this season, and I think Tierney is someone who definitely helped him there. But the issue with Tierney is that we don't know what player he is right now.
Yeah,
I didn't watch a single game of him at Real Sociedad.
I did because I was watching Mikel Merino. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So do your research.
Go on. Go through the terms.
Elite Scotsman. Elite haggis. Great fried Mars bars. Great unbrew. Ochayda nu. Kieran Tierney. How about that?
I'll tell you what. I know someone that before Tierney signed for Arsenal, and he's Scottish as well. He's like, "Oh, you're gonna love Tierney. Rock solid. He's just That is them. That is like the mentality. It's a tough one.
You know who annoys me on commentary is it Ali McCoist who calls
Ali? He's awful.
He goes Havertz. That's not an accent thing. You're saying his name wrong. Is it Kai Havertz? Who? Havertz. Kai Havertz. Right. Let's come. Yeah, so I think Tierney is either going to be released or sold, but I don't know. I think especially late in games, especially to support Martinelli, I think there's something there. Tomiyasu, 2026.
You know, with Tommy,
the back end of this season is make or break.
This is it. This is it. I don't think I can make a decision yet. I need to see. So I always felt with Tomiyasu, the contract that we handed him, I think it was in the summer or slightly before the summer. It was very much a case of, for me, we rate you as a player, but we don't rate your availability. Prove your availability, and then we can talk. And with him, do you not? There's something with it. Keeps holding on to him. Keeps holding on to Tomiyasu because of his quality and what he's able to do and the variety of tools that he gives to combat different game states. I hold on to that, but. Like, for example, if Tomiyasu, he's going to be back after the international break, according to reports, both he and Calafiori. If Tomiyasu, let's say, and it's a big if, because the evidence that we have in front of us is that this guy played about 5 minutes against Southampton, and then we didn't see him again. And I actually do feel for him because, when sometimes we frustrated as fans. It must be very difficult for a player as well to be going through that and not being able to do it. It must be so difficult. I remember, did you watch the Bellerin documentary before when he did his that gives you a bit of an idea of what a player goes through, during injury. So it must be really tough. If he can prove his fitness from now till the end of the season, or play like 70% of the games, be available for 70% of the games from now to the end of the season, I think there's a good conversation to be had there that I'd extend for another year. And then you keep yourself in that safe category, because I think his quality is crazy still in terms of, and relative to usage. He will never be, I always refer to Tomiyasu as our James Milner, a guy who can come in and solve something that the game requires in that moment. That's why I look at Tomiyasu across the back line. And I think that is an important player to have in the squad, especially when you've got like your stars in Saliba, Gabriel, Ben White, Calafiori, etc., Timber. You do need some of those guys who are able to come in when necessary to perform a specific role.
So. Absolutely. He's still only 26. Like, he'll be really frustrated himself. Obviously, I think, and understandably. And I think last season, so he had a calf injury from February till March. He had another calf issue, and he missed 6 games in December. I think had those not happened, he might have nailed down that left back slot, and he might have been, coming into this season, we might be saying, Tomiyasu is our left back, and Timber's, where's Timber going to be? He was our left back for a little while, and I think he probably would have nailed it down. Obviously, Kivior comes in, and then we change things around. But yeah, I feel really sorry for Tomiyasu. I mean, it's coming to the point where you can't just keep saying that. You have to say, look, if you're just not available, we have to move on. But I think he deserves the back end of this season. And I think you don't give someone a contract in March of 2024 to sell him straight away. I think he gets the rest of this season, and then probably it's a case of, look, if we can, we will.
If he proves his fitness from now to the end of the season, like I said, that saves us something to do in the summer. That means that we don't have to do something in the summer in regards to that hybrid right centre back, right back role, because Tomiyasu gives you a lot. For me, right now, I'm looking at that position in the summer, as something we might need to do because of what we're seeing with Tomiyasu. But if Tomiyasu can prove himself, he's still young as well. He's still young. Yeah. I think he's 26,
26, yeah. 26. Yeah, 26. Yeah. 26. And he takes a strain off other players as well, which is so important. Yeah. Jesus has a contract until 2027. I would
please,
not
Alex.
Extend. I would sell if I can this summer.
Hard sell, please.
You hate him. I mean, if I
I don't. Okay.
If I could, it depends what you're going to do on the right, because he is useful on the right. If I could, I'd sell him in January and get and go for what we need to, because I think
If you
someone
can
would take,
do, yeah.
I think Jesus is the sort of player that people would take for a quite a big price in January. They'd do like a 30-40 million pound deal for him, and then if we went and paid the release clause of Šeško, whatever it might be, I'd do that. But yeah, I would sell and I'll be looking to extend.
I find it's quite crazy because this is a player I loved and I really wanted him at Arsenal before we actually got him. I actually wrote an article when Jesus signed for Arsenal, so people saying I hate him, that's not true. But I do dislike him a lot, this current version. I really do. I find it... He's actually becoming very unbearable to watch at times. And I know that sounds really bad, but he does things now where he's holding onto the ball and he just keeps holding onto it, where there's this very simple pass. He's not the same player that we associate before the World Cup injury and that 19-game spell of Gabriel Jesus. He's not that guy anymore. And he's doing things now. Oh, I hope it's not just me. He's giving me the ick. It's like really like, ugh. Like, ugh.
Brother,
brother.
brother.
That sounds really bad, but honestly, he's becoming unbearable to watch. Sorry. Sell. Unbearable to watch.
Saka, new contract. As soon as possible, please. He's got 2 years on his deal next summer, and that is worrying me. New deal, please.
Lifetime contract.
Yeah. Gabriel, 2027.
What do you really want to say, Alexander?
I want to offer him... I want to see how Calafiori gets on. I'd offer him a new contract. The problem is we'd be starting to talk about like 2029, and that's quite a long time away.
Yeah.
I would hold off for now and wait for another... I think we can afford to... I think with Gabriel, I get the sense we can afford to get him into the last year to 18 months. I think we can do that.
Give him a 2-year deal.
To 2029.
Yeah. He's top.
No, I'm not saying he isn't. I just want to see how the Calafiori thing works out. Look, at the moment, 5 doesn't go into 4. And I'm not... It may... I don't know. I don't know. But we've got Ben White, we've got Tierney and Tomiyasu, we've got Saliba, Gabriel, and Calafiori. Someone there is going to lose at some point. They're going to know that they are not the absolute first choice starter.
And who do you think that is going to be, Alexander?
I genuinely, hand on heart, don't have an answer. Hand on heart.
Yeah.
But I'm curious. I can tell you it won't be Saliba. That's the only player I look at and say, that is not going to beat you. By the way, 2 things I found interesting. I did mention about Tomiyasu. So Zinchenko did one of those things with Pro Direct Sport that was like, teammates thing. And 2 things that came out to me that were interesting. One was they were asking about like the most funny. And he said Saliba. And then they said the least funny. And he said Tomiyasu. He said like, I've been with him for 3 years. That guy has not spoken. He hasn't opened his mouth. And I found that interesting because like I was like, I don't know. I would have thought Tomiyasu. I mean, he seems like a quiet guy. But then what he said about Saliba was, he said, who's the one who's fined the most? Who's the person who's fined?
Yeah.
And he said Saliba, and he said it's for concentration. He says he's just not concentrating. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if he's in team meetings. Willie, yeah.
Like just dozing off. He's just dozing off.
Good.
Yeah.
There must come a point where you're that good that you do feel like I don't need to really try today. And we see it. We see it in games where he is just a bit like, I'm not challenged particularly. But yeah,
nonchalant sometimes, isn't it? Very nonchalant.
Kind of a side note, but yeah, it's not Saliba because he's just too good. But Gabriel, I don't know. I'm interested. Yeah. It could also, and hand on heart, it could be Calafiori. Hand on heart, it could be Timber. Hand on heart, it could be Ben White. I don't know, but I'm interested.
I think I've always said, I felt with Gabriel, and I said it. The Bayern game was very alarming last season, in which the way that Thomas Tuchel adapted and he denied Arsenal a lot of the threat that we were creating initially. And he was saying for our left-hand side, we're willing we're more than happy for you to have more of the ball there, because we don't see you as potent through that side in build up with, at the time it was Tomiyasu and Gabriel, as opposed to William Saliba, Ben White, Jorginho biased towards that side, etc. So that I do think that there is. I've always felt with Calafiori when I've watched him at Bologna, did my research, etc. That is a guy who's maximised that centre back, left centre back. That's where he's going to be at his best.
Yeah,
it's very similar to Guardiola as well. So it does become interesting, but I think with Gabriel, he's in the top percentile in a lot of different metrics for a centre back, and I think for a player who still is one guy who continues to improve as well in terms of certain facets of his game. So that's why I would give him a 2-year deal just to reserve the value.
It just depends because the thing is as well, there might be say Timber absolutely kills it at left fullback. Do you need a more maraudy left centre back?
Yeah,
and
these are
on a different left fullback, like a more I don't know, like not a Kieran Tierney, but a new Kieran Tierney. You want a Gabriel. Do you know what I mean? So I really can't call it. I don't know. It depends where we go. I'd just wait a little bit because I don't feel we're still 2.5 years. I'd just wait till next summer, basically.
So would you be willing what? Because then next summer he'd have a year left in his deal, wouldn't?
No, 2 years left. So next summer.
Sorry, I mean after. Oh, okay. In 2025,
I'd just wait till next summer and see. That's when I'd make a decision.
Okay.
I wouldn't be offering it today. Saliba, I'd offer him a lifetime contract tomorrow. I'm sure the thing is, we're players like Saka and Saliba. It's just like whenever you want, whenever you want. Martinelli, 2027.
I see a smile on your face.
I'll let you take this one.
I think you should go first. I saw the smile when you looked at.
Oh, I don't want to do it. Martinelli is absolutely brilliant, and his out of possession work is unbelievable. I'd be willing to give him another contract because I think even if you gave him a 2029 contract, he's still, I forget how young these guys are. He's still going to be with 2 years left, he'd be 20. I literally can't count. In 2027, he'd be 26, right? So I'd give him a 2029 contract just because he'd be 26 with 2 years left. So like whatever.
Yeah.
Agree. So I would, yeah. My only thing is the wages and what I want to do with the team. I'd probably wait because if I look at that forward line, he's the player at the moment that I had the most question marks about. And he's the player who, in his individual 1v1 moments, I don't think he's doing enough. Of course, we can do more to support him. But Saka, look, we're aiming for the top. We want the very best players in the world. We absolutely want the very, very best players in the world. And it doesn't feel you need to build the team around Saka for him to perform. Doesn't feel like you need to build the team around Saliba for him to perform. Doesn't feel like you need to build the team around Declan Rice, although I think he could be used differently for him to perform. With Martinelli, we spend so much time talking about how to platform him, and that may be valuable because that may get him to where he needs to go. But is there a better option out there? I'm not convinced there isn't. I think we can get more physicality out of that position in terms of burst, like standing start burst. I think we can get more clinicality. Even when he is in central areas this season, he's not been particularly clinical. I think we can get a better 1v1 player out there. And all those players could be Martinelli. But I don't know. I wonder how much of this is because we're attached to him. We want him to be good so much. And I get that. If Martinelli signed this year for £80 million, how would we feel? I don't know.
For me, I'd give him a new contract. I would. I'd agree with the 2 years. Again, a lot of these players are so young. So that's important context. The way I look at it with Martinelli, right? Massive fan of the player.
Sorry to interrupt you. McLovin, can you post the article? because I haven't seen it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the super chat. But with Martin, right? If Mikel Arteta, so again, we don't know how he's going to iterate this squad in the following year or in the future. And I'm a firm believer that, when people talk about, oh, this is his final version, there's never going to be a final version. You continue to iterate. And again, there's the Miguel Molina lecture, and I'll talk about it a lot, but there is a guy or a number of people in a department that are called academy coaches. And it's not what you think, like actual academy coaches. They're coaches who are looking at trends in football across Europe to see what teams are doing, what innovations are there that they will then look to implement within our play. And that means that we can never be sure on what the final version will be, because Arteta is always looking for new ideas. And this is why I actually find it very funny. And I might be going off on a tangent here, but when people are like, Arteta is very stubborn, he has only his ideas. No, he is very, very open to learning about new ideas, new philosophies. Otherwise, why would we have people like this at the club? Why? Why would we have them? So, but going back to the Martinelli topic, if Mikel Arteta wants a touchline winger, an out-and-out winger, 1v1, and that is how he envisages that left wing role, then I don't see the use of keeping Martinelli for the foreseeable future. If that's how he wants to use it and he's not looking to use Martinelli in a different way. If that is how he's going to use the left winger, then we need someone else, I think. But if we're going to platform Martinelli, like you said, we're going to look to get with a Marino, Calafiori, Martinelli axis, I think there's so much potential there. Then it's a different conversation. So it depends on where the squad is going to go. I'd give him a new contract, but in terms of like where I see Martinelli at Arsenal in the future, it depends on where the squad goes and how we how that role is interpreted and how we use that role.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way of putting it. And then my question would be, is Martinelli talented enough for you to...
In that role, no. No, I don't think.
I don't think. The robot again.
Oh.
Yep. Oh, he's gone. Come back, Rohan. Come back, Rohan. Come back, Rohan. Hello?
Am I back?
You're back.
So, why did it just do?
I've no idea.
But no, what if it's an out and out Bukayo Saka role, 1v1 demon on the wing? No, he can't do that. That's not the type of player he is.
Yeah.
So then it's a different conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it. Yeah. Like George and I want to do a scout on Martinelli, and the thing is I know George is convinced by the player, and I get that. So his way of thinking is kind of like, here's how you get the best out of him. That's fine. Do we want to ask the question how to get the best out of Martinelli? Is there another player that we could talk about and with a higher ceiling and be saying, here's how you get the best out of him? You know what I mean? It's really hard. I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I'm also open to Martinelli exploding at some point. But the thing is you get further and further away from that 22-23 season. And
if we use Martinelli in the 22, if we use Martinelli in the way that we did in 22-23, then that's a player that will explode. That's the way I see it. But if we don't use him like that, then it's a different conversation.
Yeah.
Because I don't see him as an out-and-out winger. I don't see him as that type of player.
No, neither do I. McLovin, you haven't posted the article. Would be interested in seeing it. I wouldn't be surprised, by the way. Alex is not paying Rohan enough, apparently. Am I not paying you enough, Rohan?
I'm happy.
He's happy, guys. He's happy. Okay, let's come to David. I mean, we're getting into the sort of 2028, 2029. Is there anyone? I mean, I assume we're just happy when they want to extend. David Raya, Kai Havertz, Martin Odegaard, Ben White, Mikel Merino, Rice, Timber, Kivior, Calafiori at the moment. Kivior's an interesting one.
Sell, Alexander.
You would sell?
Yeah. I would have sold in the summer that just passed. That's it. Good, yeah.
Would we extend your contract?
It's expiring in 2 months, isn't it, Alex? No, it's not. I'm just making that up.
Excuse no. You've got a lifetime. You've got a lifetime deal at the Cannon Podcast.
Lifetime contract. Lifetime
contract. McLovin says Mick Brown. Who is Mick? Can you post the link, mate?
Oh, I think it was a tweet. There was a tweet on this.
There's always a tweet.
Let me find it. I might be able to find it.
Oh, here we go. He's found it. Of course he has. I've searched for Mick legend. Brown Martinelli. Let me just show this. Mick Brown, ex-scout. Who is Mick Brown, ex-scout? Arteta isn't happy with the makeup of the team in that position. There have been question marks about Sterling, Martinelli, and Jesus. They're all viewed as squad players. From what I've told, Arsenal want to improve in that position in the transfer market. The recruitment and scouting team have already been looking at players. A real superstar, game-changing player is what they're looking for. And that's really what I feel will happen. I just don't think you try and sign Mudryk for 60 million if you're happy with Martinelli. Sorry.
Yeah.
You don't.
I think the evidence from reports and very concrete reports of the players that we targeted, it shows that if you ask me now, I don't think Martinelli will be here in 2 years.
I agree.
Because of how Arteta interprets that role. Eventually. That's my prediction. That wouldn't be what I would do personally. Wouldn't be what I'd do, but
I kind of wish George was here because George could say, because I think George is like all in on the Martinelli thing.
No, but I think George is but I think if you ask George, I think George is all in on the Martinelli idea if we use Martinelli in the way that we did in 22-23. If you pose the question to George of, okay, the left winger is going to be a touchline role, out and out 1v1 type of guy. You switch it and then you allow them to explode 1v1 in the wide areas. I don't think George will be on the Martinelli train. George is on the Martinelli train of moving central. If we're not going to do that, then what is the point of keeping a player who's never going to be able to give us enough in that role of a 1v1?
Essentially, I don't see him as enough of a bully. I don't see him as enough of a. I don't think he's quick enough.
Do you not think?
No. The other night he was in a foot race with
Gusto.
Not even that one. It was the Inter game against against Dumfries.
Yeah, it would have been Dumfries. Yeah.
You can see he's not like he's quick, but is he? And I know this is a high bar, but is he Mbappe quick? If that's what I want, that's I'm sorry to say. If we want to beat these guys in the Champions League final, we can't say, well, we can't have Mbappe. Well, we got to try. let's try.
I don't think he'll be here in 2 years from the evidence that we've seen of players that we've been linked to and the persistence of trying to get a left winger in of a specific profile.
Dumfries is proper quick though. Yeah, well, I mean, this is kind of my point. Saka can be if you and again, this might be because we're playing as a touchline winger. If we're having him as a touchline winger and you're not consistently beating your man 1v1, then you need to be quick. Quicker than anyone, and he's not. I do hear the touchline thing. I 100% do. But then it's been this way for a while, and I'm like, why? I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. If it depends on the way the role is going to be interpreted.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. And the way that I do think Arteta looks at it, I have a feeling he won't be here in 2 years.
Yeah, I think so.
That's my feeling.
Okay, so to conclude.
That's a pretty fair assessment, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's pretty fair.
Yeah.
For the sort of the 2025 guys, we said Sterling, let that expire. Jorginho has said given a role at the club, maybe club secretary.
But the Sterling one could change. It could change. But as of today, we just
So all the 2025 guys are expiring. We'll do like proper squad building stuff at some point. This is just contracts. Trossard, we're giving like +1.
Yeah, +1.
Zinchenko, we're leaving or letting go. Tierney, we're leaving or letting go. Tomiyasu, we're waiting and seeing.
Yep.
Jesus, we're thinking let go. Saka, we're extending as soon as possible. Gabriel, we're waiting.
I'd do it. I would do it personally.
You're doing it. I'm waiting. Yeah. Saliba, I'll do tomorrow. Martinelli, I would do. I would do.
Yeah.
And then the rest are.
I mean, it's 2028 as well. We don't really need to. That's a fair.
This is my point from earlier. Is you can make yourself stuff that really all Arsenal need to do next summer is clear off 2 guys on loan and 2 midfielders like that. If you had to, if your priority list, if you wanted to, you could then do other stuff. But actually, the squad, we've got a number of players on long term deals. How many players is that with 4 years remaining? 4.5 years remaining. No, 4 years remaining. Sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, 3.5. Yeah, I can't count. So it's in a pretty good spot. Rohan.
Yes, sir.
You've got 10 minutes left because I know you need to leave at 9.
No, we can do a little bit more.
A little bit more?
Yeah,
he's so kind. He's not going to shut down like
we can go to like 10 past.
And then we have a little press-up competition to close it off.
Are we doing it again?
No. Less than you believe.
It's getting very cringe. It'll get too cringe. We're forcing it too much then.
David Coop.
Do you know, I said, okay, no filter. One day I am going to be in peace with the officiating in this country. I'm going to be in peace. The day the PGML just rots and this is a very old school mentality. I don't care. I have this mentality with this. Just get the best referees.
Yeah.
From Europe.
That shouldn't be old school. That should be standard.
Just get the best referees.
Yeah.
And please officiate our wonderful game. You know what really triggered me? What really annoyed me? That absolute monumental melt, Mike Dean. Did you see that clip?
Yeah,
he was more worried about, oh no. He's going to be so annoyed that the videos came out. Sorry.
In fairness to him, it was stupid. But in fairness to him, at this point, he is just his mate. Like he works for Sky. Like it's just his friend. He has no official.
I can't stand any of them.
Yeah.
I hate them all. I don't like any of them. I don't like that Musli one. That that one he's quite arrogant, just the way that he walks and he thinks he's all that. He's quite built.
Jared Gillett?
No, not Jared Gillett. Oh, he's got like a quiff. Quiff. Yeah. Chat will know. He's the one who refereed the Bournemouth game. The one who refereed the on-field ref for the Bournemouth game for us.
I've no idea. As we saw last week, I have no idea what
Jared Gillett, idiot. Michael Oliver, in the bin. Chris Kavanagh,
brother,
Howard Webb, just
brother,
just put him in the bin. And who's the other one? Oh, they're all rubbish. What did Arsene Wenger say? Alexander? He said, "When I die, tell me where the referees are going, and I'll go the other way. Me and you, Arsene, we'll go the same way.
You'll be there. We'll be there. We'll be there."
And he said, "I can't stand them, honestly, mate. Sorry. I can't stand them. The amount of honestly in game as well. The level of rage they give me. Like, I'm a very calm person in general. The level of rage these referees give me, honestly, it really hurts my head.
Just say their names for me. Just go one by one. I just want you to say their names.
Anthony Taylor.
Hang on. It's processing.
What are you doing?
Wait for it. It's processing.
Andre says exactly what I'm thinking. Here
we go. Say the name.
Anthony Taylor.
Brother.
Chris Kavanagh.
Brother.
Jared Gillett.
Brother.
David Coots.
Oh, I feel bad for him.
I do feel a little bit bad.
I feel bad for him.
I have empathy, right? I do have empathy.
No.
Yeah.
David, the thing is, there's like PGMOL are a disgrace, And then there's people like dancing on David Coote's career. And I do feel like I've never met anyone who does cocaine in a very happy place in their life. So he's obviously not mentally very well parking that, you know what I mean? But equally crazy.
Hey, that video, the initial video, he was so off his face. He was completely gone. He was completely. And who's the muscly? No, you need to do it one more time. That he's a little bit built. One? The muscly guy with the quiff, and he's the one who refereed the Bournemouth game.
Craig Pawson?
Oh yeah, get it on.
That's him. Say it.
No, it's not Craig Pawson. That's not the one.
Do you want to do him anyway?
A different guy. Yeah, Craig Pawson.
Brother,
That's it. Rob Jones. That's it. Get it on.
Brother,
I'm just gonna confirm it's Rob Jones. Yeah, I can't stand that guy. Honestly, he's on my list. He's the next one who needs to get out. Rob Jones. Let me just confirm. I need to see. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh God. Actually, no. Hold on. Let me put Rob Jones referee. There seems to be a lot of Rob Joneses in the world.
So much, guys.
Rob Jones, that's it.
I am so sad.
Chap, isn't Rob Jones? He's the worst. Rob Jones is like, he's in that Michael Oliver category. He's awful. He's on my list.
Craig Pawson was the one who, do you remember when David Luiz's knee hit the back of that Wolves game in the white kit?
Oh,
that was Craig Pawson.
Brother,
Do you know who was the referee in which the Martinelli double yellow against Wolves?
Michael Oliver, pretty sure. Roll clip. Now we've used it too much. I love that that's your roll clip. Yeah, they're all a bunch of. Look, I mean, not to reopen the conversation, but I will say, I was watching it going, yeah, everyone. This happens to everyone. Like they are just rubbish, and this is why I go away from the Arsenal conspiracy. But it just does show that they are, yeah.
This is my point on it, Alex. This is my point on Alex. When I say I believe there's a subconscious bias amongst certain referees, depending on what they're projected with, I'm not saying that just for Arsenal. I'm saying that for any club. But then that in itself is the game not being refereed.
Yeah, that's not acceptable.
It's just not.
That's
nearly swore there, actually. Nearly swore. Sorry.
It's not just. I think we can swear on the show.
I don't like swearing on the stream.
So because your mum watches.
Tell you what, though, at games, oh God, I'm bad.
Yeah.
I'm bad.
What's your favourite swear word? You don't have to say it.
No, I like using good Indian swear words.
But your favourite English one. Your favourite English swear. I don't want to hear no Indian.
Oh, it's just very. The F word. What's yours, Alexander?
I think we can swear on Cannonpod. I might get demonetized. Let's not do it. Bollocks.
It's a bit mild, though, isn't it? It's a bit mild.
So English. It's so English. Oh, absolute.
Why are you doing it in the Mark Goldridge?
It's a disgrace. PGMOL, they're a disgrace. David Coote, get them all out. This is disgusting.
But my favourite Indian swear word is... No, I'm not going to say it.
I doubt we'll get demonetized because we're from... Because it's going on in the UK.
I use it a lot, Ben should.
Yeah, what does that mean?
No, I'm not saying that. Okay. I'm not saying that. Oh, I'm not definitely not saying that. I'll use that word.
I was going to do some serious analysis about like where people access against us, but you're about to go to bed. Sporting directors, any thoughts on that?
Put a tweet out and I said, I'm not very clued up on sporting directors across Europe. I need to do my research, but I do have a criteria list for me.
Arsenal in shambles! Title race over! Go on.
Sporting directors, however, I believe that the individual needs to be experienced. He needs to have a track record of a successful rebuild. His values need to align with the club's philosophy / ethos, etc. Because I don't know about you, but I found the outrage of Mikel Arteta having a say in this. I found that really strange because, of course, he should have a say on who the next person is. He should have some say on it. Otherwise, you're going to get in a situation of a Raul Sanllehi and Sven Mislintat type of conflict. Two people with a different way of seeing the game. One favored, contacts, the other favored data. You've got two different ends of the spectrum there that can lead to serious turbulence. But now the guy cannot be a yes man, nor can he be a contrarian. That's where it has to be. It has to be that kind of like fine line of he has his own opinions, but he's not just going to object for the sake of objecting. So it's
which is why
the Real Sociedad guy is interesting though, isn't it?
Yeah, I've got him here. So he Olabe. I think I tweeted this out. It stinks of Arsenal. We've done stuff with Nacho and Kieran Tierney, Mikel. Mikel played for them, so he would have known him then. He was signed in 2004 by Olabe. He knows some of the City coaches. He's done like I think Edu's role was kind of the women's team and the academy as well, and he's done that at Sociedad. Do you know what I mean? It feels very much like an Arsenal type sort of signing. But I think on your point about sort of what Arteta needs, firstly, yeah, I absolutely am in full agreement that like he deserves a say. I'm not saying he should pick them, but he deserves a say in who it is. And if he knows someone he thinks they're brilliant, why not get them in? Like, it's that thing, ultimately most jobs you're going to get in your life are going to be recommendations. They're going to be people. They're going to be, like if this podcast, like we came together because, I was recommended you on Twitter. Like it happens that way. You don't interview for every job, right? And, it's ended up in the greatest podcast in the world. So exactly. No, but you know what I mean? Like the connections often come through recommendations. And if you rate someone already, they're likely to rate people who are similar to them. Absolutely. And have similar values and stuff. So it makes complete sense.
Well, I mean, I can tell for myself, the current job that I have, if I had not been referred, I would have had to go through an entire recruitment process. Which
you got referred to OnlyFans?
Yeah.
Didn't know you had to refer to get on OnlyFans. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just how it is these days.
How much money are you making?
More than you believe.
More than you believe.
More than you believe.
But in my current job, I got referred, and that meant that I skipped the entire recruitment phase, and it was literally just like, okay, send your CV, and then it was one interview. That's all it was, and it's that's why I just find it. I found it very strange when people say Arteta shouldn't have a say in it. Of course, he should have a say. Like, and also Arteta has when we go through this era under Arteta, he's brought in Nicolas Jova. That was his recommendation. Yep. Carlos Cuesta, Miguel Molina. Yeah. And these are guys who think for themselves and they have their own opinions and thoughts. I mean, look at Nicolas Jova, the impact that he's had on us. So it's not, and so Arteta having a say is not a bad thing. And it's not a case of Arteta bringing someone in who's just going to agree with him. Yep. He's brought in people who have objected against his opinions and who have brought something different that has elevated this team. So,
and I do want someone, who will work with Mikel, but also probably more experienced than Edu. Just someone who has been there and done it a bit more. And I think you naturally have a bit more gravitas when you're in your 50s and 60s, because you can just go, look, I've just seen it before, and I just don't think you should. And it's someone who's just not, almost someone who's not that invested. I think one of my worst ever Arsenal, I'm curious, actually, we should end the show on this. Everyone should give me their worst ever Arsenal take. Your worst ever Arsenal take. And I think this is my worst ever Arsenal take. There was a point where I was saying, I felt in his backroom staff, there wasn't enough experience. And I felt as though we were being let down a little bit in games where we just weren't being pragmatic enough at times. And Roy Hodgson was available. And I said,
you tell me this
quite seriously, I was like, get him in. Couple days a week on a part-term contract, get Hodgson in. But the point being that when you're older, I feel like you can just dip in, and you're not that those young guys are invested. They're invested. And I kind of like that thing of an older person just coming in and be like, I've kind of done what I need to do in my career. I'm not here to impress anyone. I'm just here to offer you a different perspective. And I think that'd be really useful.
I think it's like I don't think it's actually that bad of an opinion, to be honest, because it's like an old head. Maybe it depends on the type of old head it is, though, isn't it? If it's someone who has a completely different way of viewing football, like you brought Sam Allardyce in, that's not going to work. But if you brought in an older head that, goes by the principles, very similar principles and philosophy that you have, then I think that could be good because you've got someone who has experience over a significant amount of time in that sort of field. So, one of my bad ones was I said Nicolas Pepe would hit 25 goals in the league in his first season at Arsenal. Do you know what? I'll tell you right. Okay, I'll tell you what. I made a massive
goals, not even goals and assists. Goals.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you right. From that day, when we signed Pepe, everyone will know it. The chat will know it. There was this one YouTube comp of Pepe. There was this one. I need to link it. I can't remember who it was from. I think it was like a YouTube creator called Jumanji or something. Jumani or something.
Sold a Dream by YouTube.
He sold me a dream. He absolutely sold me a dream. And I didn't do any previous assessment of Pepe, like watching actual games. Just went by that YouTube comment, like, yeah, he's scoring 25 goals. It's pretty bad, isn't it?
TJ says he was on the Jose train. I think I was. I don't think I ever said I want Jose, but I think I was like, ooh.
No, I hated him. I absolutely hated him.
You what? I thought Tierney was a top 5 left back in the league in 21-22.
I don't think that's a bad opinion.
That's not a bad take. My worst ever Arsenal take was I believed Arteta should have been sacked in 21-22 for Graham Potter. At the time, that's not horrific because Arteta was. I never wanted him gone, but there was pressure.
Yeah. I don't think it's like a horrible thing. I also think with Graham Potter, we've not seen him in management since Chelsea. I think stocks. I think we should invest in some Graham Potter stock.
He's still on like 300k a week from Chelsea. Do you know this?
Is he? Is he on like gardening leave or something? Or is he?
He can't get him out of the contract. He's on like £350,000 a week or something at Chelsea. Mental. It's mad. He's like one of the highest paid people. It's so funny. I think Pochettino took a payout, but for some reason Potter they keep having to keep paying. Worst ever Arsenal take. I thought Kolasinac was actually good. That is poor. I thought Rob Holding.
People were. Oh God.
I thought Rob Holding. Go on.
Sorry, just the Kolasinac thing. I think people sold a dream on Kolasinac being in the team of the year. The year.
Oh yeah, with Schalke. Get him on a free. Yeah, classic. Yeah. I thought Rob Holding was a good enough defender to fill in for Saliba in 22-23. Now we see Rohan get angry.
There was this one guy I remember at the Emirates, right, and he really triggered me one day. I didn't say anything. I was just like, yeah. When we played, start from Holding, right? When we played Leeds United, right? We played Leeds United. But Leeds United after the international break in the 22-23 season. And City had beaten Liverpool 4-1 in the early kickoff with a 3 o'clock kickoff. And that was the first game with Rob Holding, like that Rob Holding period. Of saving Arsenal in the absence of Saliba and Tomiyasu. And he had a good game, to be fair to him. And the guy next to me was like, oh, Rob Holding, don't think I could think of a better third choice centre-back in the league. He's going to guide Arsenal to the league. You see, he dies for the club, knows what it means, all this stuff. For are you serious?
That triggered you. I don't think it's that bad. Like at the time, it's not.
Alex, he was not good.
No, I'm not saying he was good.
No, but he said third. He said the best third choice centre back in the league
at the time. I'm not saying he would be my pick. I'm saying it's not a horrific take.
Block 9. I think it was block 9.
Rob Holding, and this is my thing. I went on James Alcott's show about this time last year, and I did my top 25 Emirates era signings. And Rob Holding was in it, and I probably wouldn't have him there anymore. But for the price, the amount of games he played, the trophies he won, he was good at points. He just couldn't play Mikel's football.
Yeah. I'm not saying he wasn't value for money. For 2 million, he was value for money for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm not denying that. But people are putting him on a pedestal. And this is where it's not just social media. I can tell you for a fact, a lot of people thought Rob Holding was very good.
Yeah,
I'm telling you.
Do you remember those debates in like 2021? It was like, is it Rob Holding and Pablo Mari or David Luiz and Pablo Mari?
Two clowns, two absolute bombs. Honestly,
Beef lads. I thought Martinelli would overtake Saka. At one point, I see that. At one point, I see that. My worst take is that this is the thing with those types of takes where people are like, I thought that would happen. I always think you only had the information you had at the time. It's when at the time you've got a horrific take. Do you know what I mean? Like that's and then it gets worse. My worst take is that I thought we shouldn't have sold Bellerin. Okay, that's what I mean. That's a bad take. Because not only was that a bad take at the time, that's a bad take now.
I loved him. He was finished though. He was absolutely finished.
What's my worst Arsenal take? You must have heard me had a few bad takes over the years.
I think no, it's not a bad take, but I don't know if I should reveal it.
No, go on.
Can I reveal it?
It depends what it is. Give me a clue. Put it in the private chat.
I'll put private chat. Yeah.
Put it in the private chat.
Yeah, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it before you. Silence.
I can't imagine I won't want you to share it. Depends what it is.
Shared. I'm doing it in the shared one. Starred. Yeah. Is it? Hold on a minute. Is that what? Do I just go on the chat that's starred?
Where it says private chat, not live chat. I'll just say.
Oh yeah. Okay, I've got it here.
You've just put it there.
Oh.
You just put it publicly. So even
delete. It's gone. Wait, where's the private chat? Oh no. Okay.
Sven Botman being better than Gabriel. Yeah, I think I did say that at one point. Yeah, I really like Sven Botman. So I would say 2021, 2022 around there.
What an idiot. I'm actually pretty good with technology. I am.
Imagine you put like a really it was about a personal thing, and you put like a really personal thing.
No, he wouldn't have been that. I would never have done that. I would never have. Botman is not Alexander.
No. And now he isn't. But what I'm saying is 2 or 3 years ago when he was first coming onto the scene, that's not a horrendous take. Arteta is a better manager than Klopp. Klopp has been around longer, has achieved more in the game, but as an overall manager, by every metric you measure a manager, if all it takes is that for you to say, yeah, he's a better manager, that tells me you aren't particularly looking at what makes a good manager. In my opinion.
Stocks. Get your stocks in.
Get your stocks
Invest.
Rohan, we'll finish there on that bombshell. On that absolute
This was
bombshell.
a sick podcast. Honestly, this was so good.
Is it because it was short?
Is 1 hour and 40 minutes really short?
It wasn't enough messing around for me, but the people who don't like that will be very happy.
We will be messing around though. Just there wasn't enough.
Yeah. People don't like my Klopp take, and I don't care. Good fun.
So what's next? Internationals.
Bedtime for me. Just stay in the present. Bedtime's next. Then you wake up, you check your phone, and you think, oh, all of the information in the world. That's good for me to take in at 9 a.m. Then you put your phone down. Then you have a shower. One step at a time, baby.
And then what?
And then I'll be in a boy band.
Bit of brekkie.
Bye, 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 bye. Bye, bye, bye. Ain't no lie, baby. Bye, bye, bye. Flakes.
Cringe. Flakes.
Thank you, Rohan. Pleasure as always.
Always.
If you want to check out the interview with Marcia Lewis, you can do that. There will be no instant reaction this weekend because we're not here. We're back with a vengeance next week with all sorts of good fun. Bye, everyone. Love you.
Bye.
Say it.
Brother, What's that? What's that, brother?